it's time for Ringside. Got a bunch of news lined up for you, ladies and gentlemen, so further straight in. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer theorized that WWE had John Cena tease WrestleMania London for two reasons. One, to make a statement after AEW's impressive ticket sales for All In, since Meltzer is sure WWE could sell out 2 nights at Wembley Stadium and break any gate record AEW sets. And two, to create demand and influence London to pay to bring WrestleMania there, like Cardiff did for Clash of the Castle and Puerto Rico did for Backlash. So that's pretty much what I assumed was going on. That for from the moment that Cena, not so much when Cena came out there, but after, pretty much after he was like, oh, we should bring WrestleMania to London. I was like, oh, okay, so they're bringing WrestleMania to London. But apparently that doesn't really seem like it's the case. What seems to be the case is it feels as though that they are like, hey, this would be a good idea, but how do I put this? It's like when you're a kid and you're at the mall, right, and you want a toy, and you're like, oh, I really love that toy, too bad we can't get it. You know, you kind of give a look, of man, boy, howdy, sure, man, hachimachi, sure would be great, hot diggity, but, well, what can we do, listen, in regards to the whole ticket sales thing, I don't really think that should matter, right? I don't really think that should be, the overall goal that WWE is trying to do, but that's what they're gonna do, man. And it's what they've been doing for a long time, ever since AEW showed up, is they've just been trying to be oh yeah, well, I don't know, something better, it's weird. I feel like London's gonna do it more than likely, so we just have to wait and see if when that actually starts getting put into place. Next, a high-ranking person in WWE Creative felt, quote, trepidation about the finish of the Money in the Bank's main event, according to WrestleVotes. The Twitter account added, quote, a strong argument that Reigns shouldn't be pinned prior to losing the title was present throughout the process. I understand. I understand that if you're going to have Roman be pinned, it's got to be for a very, very good reason. And I mean, if I gun to my head, if I had to choose, I would probably choose Roman getting pinned and losing the titles, just so it's kind of like a double whammy. I will say this though, Roman getting pinned by Jey Uso, the first man to pin him, right? And all the references and the callbacks that they did, it's not as if they just sort of did it, just for the sake of it. It's not as if they did it. It's not it wasn't like an auto. It didn't just happen. Is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't like a fluke. Then no one sneezed and then went, we're gonna do that. It was thought out. You can tell that there was thought and there was some type of creative drive to it. You didn't just wake up and go, he's gonna get pinned. You didn't walk into the stadium and bump your head and go, he should get pinned. It obviously had some type of thought and there was time and effort, and it was carefully curated and crafted to the point that you could actually go back and look at other things that happened in the past and reference them in the match itself, from the low blow pin to the do you believe in miracles, all the way to who pinned him first. The fact that you can do that, right, really should tell you that, you know what? Yes, he did lose the titles, but that was so significant even to the callback of, oh, stack him, smash him, and he did that, and they both kicked out. It was done in such a perfect theatrical way, right? That you don't even have to, I don't even care that he didn't lose the titles. That's not the point, okay? It's literally what Michael Cole said. Gods can bleed. He bled. I understand the trepidation and the whole, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this. I get that. But my point is that despite all that, this was still a magnificent choice to make. So I personally have no issues with it. And now we can move further on with the story. Sticking with Money in the Bank, regarding their earlier rumor about Brock Lesnar returning at Money in the Bank, WrestleVotes said plans changed prior to the show, and with Cena and Drew McIntyre showing up, WWE decided to hold Lesnar for Raw. That makes a lot of sense. I actually agree with that. That was actually a really good idea, considering the fact that Cena was like a major surprise, and Drew McIntyre was also a surprise as well. He was definitely a huge. They were both like huge surprises, and well, obviously, disregarding Cena, Drew McIntyre coming back again, not negotiated a contract yet, even though the contract isn't like fully up. So. Listen, that's still doing its thing, so there's not really much that we can really say about that. But in regards to the whole Brock Lesnar situation, it does make a whole lot of sense of why they didn't win. I feel like, I don't want to say it would have been too much. I will say this. It was a good call to have him come back on Raw. It's sort of like it spaced it out. It spaced it out. You had Drew, you had Cena, great. And now you come back on Raw and you're like, oh, wow, that was great. Oh, Brock Lesnar, Yeah, I thought he was going to come back at Money in the Bank, but seeing as how Cena and Drew came back, yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. So now, there we go. We got the rubber match. So can't wait to see how that turns out. Next, another rumor killer, this time about talk. WWE considered giving Zelina Vega's Money in the Bank spot to Charlotte Flair. Fightful Select says they checked with their sources and, quote, were told there wasn't serious consideration to that and that Charlotte's creative has been planned for a while. You didn't need to have Charlotte Flair in Money in the Bank. And, I mean, it's been planned for a while. And I'm just thinking back to, like, when she came back and how she was challenging for the title and then she lost because Bianca Belair. And then how the lineup for SummerSlam has Charlotte versus, I was going to say Charlotte versus Flair, Charlotte versus Bianca versus Asuka. So all of that in mind, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as to why Charlotte would be in the Money in the Bank match. I mean, I'm sure she would make for like great spots and stuff like that, and like I guess she would be like the Logan Paul of the match, because you really, really don't want her to win. But I don't really know, to be totally honest. I'm just glad that they didn't actually go with it. There's not really much to say because she's already got like stuff lined up, obviously. So it would kind of just seem like a very unnecessary to put her in the match. So I'm glad she wasn't in it. And yeah, shouts out to Zelina Vega for that wonderful code red onto the ladder. Next, Triple H met with some unnamed talents he's been hoping to sign over Money in the Bank weekend, per BWE. That Twitter account says they heard the meeting went well. There's not really much to say about this, because I have no idea who the unnamed talents are. It could be GOD, Gorillas of Destiny, apparently that's what they're called. So it could be Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, right? I don't think that's the right, I swear, one of them is like Loa. One of them is like Tangaloa, and one of them is like Tama Tonga. And I think it might be those two. Maybe. I don't 100% know. Those are the only two that I can really think of. And, I mean, I don't think it's anybody from AEW because I haven't heard any rumblings of anybody's contract ending soon. Yeah, man. Maybe my ears just isn't that close to the streets as I thought. And maybe there's a bunch of different other names that are floating around right now and I'm just not considering it. But other than that, man, I really have, like, no idea. So if it's not GOD... I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to see. So, only time will tell who it actually will end up being, because you never know. Maybe we could all be wrong. Finally, there was speculation online about Jade Cargill's AEW future when she tweeted about enjoying life, quote, outside of the wrestling bubble so much that she, quote, might stay there. After her loss to Double or Nothing, Fightful Select reported plans called for Cargill to return from some time off, quote, with a personality shift. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know about you. I love Jade Cargill. I think she's great. I think that she has improved immensely in the ring. I love that she started out as a partner for Shaq, and then she ended up being on an undefeated streak. And didn't they give her the TBS championship? I can't remember. All I remember is that, like, bro, when I think of the TBS championship, I think of Jade Cargill. So, I mean, you gotta give points to AEW for doing that. But, yeah. I had a feeling that after her, like, streak ended and stuff like that, that was pretty much not going to be, like, it, but that was going to be it for her. She was going to ride off into the sunset for a little bit, sipping down Darjeeling and then, maybe potentially come back in the future. I don't 100% know when, but it sounds like, listen, I'm not a wrestler. But if you do something for a very, very long time and it takes a toll on you because of how long you're doing it, it really shouldn't come as a shock to anyone if after it's been like a day of you being like, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm not surprised that you're like, I might just stay away from that altogether, to be totally honest with you. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's really up to her at the end of the day. I like to see her come back. I'm not going to lie and say that I don't want her to come back. I love Jade Cargill, so if she does come back, I mean, she doesn't necessarily have to win the TBS Championship again, but listen, if she does eventually come back, great, more power to her. What do we talk about? Meltzer theorized that Cena is teasing WrestleMania in London because he wants to make a statement after AEW's impressive sales were all in. And he wants to create demand and influence London to pay to bring WrestleMania there again. If I'm London, no, actually, just for that, absolutely not. High ranking, trepidation. Okay, again, the thought that was put in to Jey Uso painting Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank was definitely way more thought than a lot of different past wrestling storylines that I have seen. And just the amount of different callbacks that you can make in a span of like 5 minutes is absolutely incredible, and a testament to how much care and thought was put into that. So yes, he didn't lose the titles, but I would argue that he lost something far greater, okay? I don't know if there's a word for it, but listen, I think that what he lost was much more impactful than all 3 of those titles combined. Brock Lesnar. Oh yeah, so the rumor was that Brock Lesnar was going to return to Money in the Bank, and then he didn't, but then he returned on Raw, which in hindsight was like the best decision to make, just because of Drew McIntyre returning and also John Cena making a surprise appearance, and I like the idea of, you come back on Raw and you're like, oh, that was great, and then Brock Lesnar shows up and it was even like a bigger surprise, so if you watched Raw, the pop was definitely very large. And yeah, man, they're going to continue on with the rubber match, so I can't wait to see that. What else? Oh yeah, I didn't hear about this rumor. I personally didn't hear the rumor about Charlotte Flair taking Zelina Vega's spot. Again, I mean, just the fact that she didn't even think about it, and she's in the title picture. So it's kind of weird that, they were like, oh, we're going to put you in Money in the Bank. But even then, she probably more than like 9 times out of 10 wouldn't have won anyway. So, whether she's in or not, doesn't really make a gigantic difference. Triple H met with some unnamed talents. I don't know. I have no idea. It's unnamed. I can look it up. I'm probably going to look it up either tomorrow or tonight. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, it's unnamed. So I don't know how far that word is going to go in regards to like the dirt sheets and the paywalls and what have you. I don't know. So if I find something, I'll say something about it. And Jade Cargill, listen, man, she comes back, great. She doesn't come back, all right. Either way, you're going to have to deal with it. It's the same thing with CM Punk. Oh, you don't want him back? Okay, well, there he is. Okay, and I don't care. I don't care if you don't want him back or not. I don't care if you don't like Jade Cargill. I like Jade Cargill, and she was an exceptional wrestler, so here she is. You like her? Great. Here she is. If she wants to ride off into the sunset, that's fine. If she wants to make earrings on Etsy, that's fine too. She's an adult. She's allowed to do whatever she wants. I'm not really going to say too much. And yeah, I mean, if she comes back, great. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Hopefully everybody has a wunderbar tonight and a wunderbar tomorrow. I don't know why I'm ending it in German, but either way. And as always, big hugs. Big hugs all around.